Welcome, sports fans, to another record-breaking edition of Sports Talk is McHemmie. And we've been off the air for a couple weeks now because we have been all over the country. We're talking about the World Series. We're talking about this week. We just got back from Baton Rouge to see the Arkansas Razorbacks defeat the LSU Tigers. And, of course, on our way back, we caught one hell of a fight last night. We're talking about a shocker, and we're talking Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas from 1990. It had that same kind of feel. We're talking about UFC 193. Rowdy Ronda Rousey got knocked out by Holly Holm in the second round in what a lot of people are considering one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, Mike.
Well, you know, Dave, I started thinking about this last night when, as we were watching the match in our mobile studio on our way back from one of SRE Reynolds' beautiful, luxurious homes that we always stay in. And like you said, I thought of Buster Douglas. I thought of Ali Frazier, Liston Ali. I just kept thinking back to undefeated champs and how rare it is to have a retired undefeated champ. And that there have been 13, only think about all the boxers in the history of boxing. Of course, now I'm moving over on boxing, which is something I'm more familiar with. The great fighters, the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Muhammad Alis, the Larry Holmes, of course, Mike Tyson, as you said. No undefeated. Rocky Marciano only, and then 12 others. Only 13 undefeated champions have retired in the history of boxing. And so, it just made me think about how unlikely it is for any fighter of any sport to retire. And definitely Rousey looked like she got what she asked for last night in regards to her training or lack thereof.
Well, Mike, and I'll tell you, going into the fight, I think, I've been watching the UFC for a long time, and to me, that had to be one of probably the biggest upset since probably UFC 71. And for those of you that don't remember that, UFC 71, you had George St. Pierre take on Matt Serra. GSP was in his first reign as welterweight champion. Just got completely shocked and knocked out by Matt Serra. But a lot of, it was basically a couple punches and it was done. Last night was just a total annihilation, just a strategy going into the fight. Just so impressive by Holly Holm last night, who had a reach advantage going in. She was a former champion boxer who went 33-2 as a boxer.
She was like a giant compared to Rousey.
Yeah, she had height advantage. She had a reach advantage. The story going into with Rowdy's judo background, that would a champion boxer be able to handle a judo, bronze medal winner from the Olympics if she took her to the ground? But Holly Holm last night actually fought a defensive fight at the beginning where Rousey came out very aggressive. Holm just counterpunched. It was very similar to Juan Mel Marquez whenever he defeated Manny Pacquiao a couple of years ago. Counterpunch, counterpunch. She used the aggressive style of Rousey against her, and eventually it ended up opening up her offense, but her punching just...
It's like Mayweather and Pacquiao, the last fight.
Yeah, it was just the counterpunching of Holm. There was just no way that Rousey just didn't know how to handle it. And the footwork, if you really watched the fight last night, the footwork difference between Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm was just like night and day. And, Rousey just basically got outclassed trying to outbox a boxer. And, of course, there's a lot of talk in the Rousey camp now about her possibly changing her manager because there was already a little bit of friction going on between Rousey's family and her manager before the fight. But now after the fight, it's really been amplified. But Holly Holm just using the perfect strategy last night. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Tyson-Douglas fight from 1990. Mike Tyson coming in was thought to be unbeatable. He had just knocked out Michael Spinks in 91 seconds, basically retired him. was just going through everyone, destroying them, very similar to how Rousey had done her last few fights. But then, you know, Rousey's always taken that part in the ring where she's the bully, she's the one that's pushing the pace. Last night she came forward, Holm did not back up. She picked her, basically just picked her apart. But one of the first exchanges of the fight, Holm just kind of pushed her back, you know, threw a solid jab right in her face and said, hey, I'm for real and I'm here to stay tonight. And Rousey, who has just been steamrolling people, struggled on how to handle that. But I will give her credit. She took a beating last night. She kept coming forward till the end, till the finally, you know, when Holm hit the kick that was just right behind the ear that just put her to sleep. But Holly Holm just really shocked the world last night because, you know, no one really expected it. I mean, we're talking odds that was similar to the Douglas and Tyson fight.
Yeah, and you were talking about, you know, different management. And, you know, I don't keep up with UFC like you do, Dave, but in watching the fight, the thing that stood out to me was the lack of preparation. And I thought that this was, if she's going to make a change, then this is what she needs.
Since you won that belt.
Oh, what are you talking about? Had 10 title defenses.
That was easy.
What do you mean easy?
They was handpicked.
Setups?
Nah, they weren't setups. They was good fighters, but they wasn't killers like this guy. He'll knock you into tomorrow, Rock.
Well, and I think
that's what she did. She knocked her into tomorrow.
I mean, really, it was very similar that, you know, Holly Holm, for everything, she wasn't as experienced in MMA going into the fight. She came into the fight, I believe she was 9-0, but was not as experienced in MMA. This was her third fight in the UFC. But her boxing background, having 35 fights, you know, or actually probably more than that, if you put all her fights together, she'd actually fought over 40 fights, where Rousey had only fought 13. And I think the experience, she's fought in championship matches before. She was able to handle the pressure, but by Rousey losing, this just is a gold mine for the UFC now. We're talking about an organization last night that set an attendance record with 56,000 people in attendance. We're talking about buy rates just out the